Yeah, I'm starting today. I don't even know what to do. Like, where do I put my hands, right? And Angus is doing my infamous thing where you drink the loud water bottle while live on
Get your
call.
hands off your nipples to start with, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, just tweaking. If you're watching the video podcast, you'll know that is not true. But importantly, pricing. We're talking about pricing today. What does pricing say about you? How should you price your business? All the different things in it. And as always, I'm going to start with some fun story. So there are two things that come to mind when I think pricing. One, and this is one of the biggest mistakes I've made, is we do not increase our prices enough in chiropractic. It wasn't long ago that when I first graduated, our regular adjustment, I think, was $48 or $50. And then in 14 years later, the average adjustment price is in the 70s. That's not a large lift across a decade when everything else has gone bond. And listen, I'm the first to do this. I last year had to do a $10 per adjustment increase on patients, which, as you can imagine, went down like a sinking ship because it felt like a lot, right? It was about, at the end of the day, it was only about 13, 14%. But even with the explanation, hey, I haven't increased prices in 3 years, huge mistake. This is happening. I literally had a patient. This guy is definitely on some kind of spectrum. Who knows which one it was? But just literally bring out inflation data from the last 5 years and be like, even based on CPI inflation, this is still too much. And then at the end of the day, we lost him as a patient, and the practice has never been better for it. But most people rolled through. And this is the hot tip, I'm getting ahead of myself. We even did a thing because we were moving to more of a package of membership model. It was like, hey, you can stay on the old price if you do this. Otherwise, the new price. Do you know what we found out? A bunch of people just went, nah, I'd rather just do the new price. I was like, sweet. So I think a lot of the time there's fear, but the point is that the fear was probably what stopped me increasing regularly over the years. And then I was afraid that I was going to absolutely burn the practice, but we had to do it. And lo and behold, I think we lost 1 or 2 people. And it's always that rule. It's like the 80-20 rule. The 20% that cause you the most headaches are the ones you need to get out of your business. 80% of people just smile, nod, and get moving, right? But
Yeah,
let's talk about price.
yeah. Let's talk about pricing. So I'm going to give you a 6 out of 10 for the opening there, Nate. It was not bad, but I can see that there's a skill to this.
Stuck the landing.
So,
I'm not allowed to yell. I used to open the old podcast and I was just be like, welcome. And apparently I'm not ready for that yet.
Too much American in that. We don't do that
You
here.
know, I don't know. If people want me to open it more often, let's see some comments on the podcast. If they want me to bring this thing in like I'm an American shouting from stage, you leave us some comments.
Hands up, clap for us, everyone. Give me a yes.
Hello,
if you hear
Melbourne.
Anyway, get back on topic. So I saw another video. I feel like that's just the trend that we see, where it was like good advice, but it was uncontextual. So the advice is basically like, practice is at $65 a visit. We're going to bump that up to 80. And it's like, okay, yeah. So in context, it was a group. So they had multi-location, and this was how they assessed a business to see what they could add. So it was like a fixer-upper. Yeah, so think of this as like a home reno, right? When you purchase a property, you look for the things that you can increase the value of. That's what a multi-clinic owner is doing. So they're getting the P&Ls and all the business, the balance sheets and stuff, and they're going, okay, this is what this business does. These are the things we could do to improve it. This is how much we can purchase it for. And then this is how we're going to get it to where we want it to be in 5 years' time or whatever. That's what they do. That's their mindset. If you're sitting in your practice and you look at that and you go, oh, okay, so if I just want to blow up this practice, all I need to do is increase my price by $15 and double my retention, you are going to piss people off. And I see, your boy Homos and all that, and they're like, you're not charging enough, charge more. But it's like when you're actually on the ground in reality, you've built a community, you've got a base, you've got people who know you, they like you, and then you do something like this, it has such a big effect, and it will blow your practice up because people fucking leave. Like, that's a thing. So yes, we undercharge. I definitely think, and we'll get into all that. That's not new. But then there's also like ways to do it so that you don't just destroy your own practice, because that's, again, it's like looking at the advice, cool, uncontextual. If you do that, they are some conversations you just don't want to have. I have an awful story, I just did it again, of a practice that took over. Guy was there for 20 years. They took away the FMOS machine and the high caps machine because that was how their protocols worked, to get everyone to sign like prepayment and just remove like the need for all of that. Man, that guy was like loved by everyone. Within 6 months, the entire town hated him. And I can't even put a cherry on top of like that. They hated him. They like fully hated him. And it's just the way I think the transition's done, crucial. The context is crucial. And we don't need to go into that side of changing systems, but even just doing the price is crucial. There's ways that you just have to do it and you have to think through it. So as you said, we're going to go through those topics. I'll just pull up what I've got. So starting off, we're going to say what your price says about you before anyone walks in. So this is probably whenever someone starts practice, the routine is basically to like look around, look sideways and try and get an average and just be the average. How do you feel about that? What do you notice?
I think it's something I sort of went through, and we all went through it. I tend to see the opposite, where they look around, they want to be the cheapest, not even the average, or the lower side of the average. And I remember getting advice from a mentor of mine, and I still think of this every time. It's just someone has to be the most expensive. Why not you? And I would argue that most people I have met always, and I think it's a part of whether it's ego or whether it's part of wanting to deliver the most for someone, they believe they deliver the best care in their area, right? Because if for the person in front of you, I deliver the best care. Because if you didn't believe that, I only assume you would have referred that person if they were better served elsewhere, right? So if you deliver the best product and service on that thing, why don't you have a right to be the more expensive person?
Yeah. I think you got to earn it. I think that's how I see that. It's like, I don't know if I would start my practice and be the most expensive without, because then there's the whole supply and demand. So I definitely understand that there's a race to the bottom and there's no point being the second cheapest or most expensive. But it's when you start, and this maybe leans more into models than anything. But if I was going to be like, all right, I'm going to do high volume, I don't know that I can be the most expensive compared to someone who potentially is lower volume, but then their appointments are completely different to what mine look like. So maybe the conversation starts with models.
See, I disagree. I think you can charge more in high volume than you can in low volume. Because I think the assumption, and this is the assumption I think a lot of people in longer appointment times make, is that because you do a longer time, you have the right, it's better, right? I've always made this argument that if you can get the same result in a fraction of the time, you should charge more because you save that person so much time. If you could have gone and seen someone and they do 45 minutes and I can get the same result in 15, in a third of the time, why shouldn't I charge as much as that person? And most importantly, maybe more, because time is the most valuable resource. I know it's very counterintuitive for people, I get it, but I just think it's a fact. If your only value proposition is that you take more time, then you're essentially just like a massage therapist that's charging in 30, 60, 90-minute increments. You're not a primary practitioner. You're just charging for time. And although that is what a lot of people are conditioned to, if you can deliver the value, there's no reason you can't charge the same. And my other counter to that is if I can do the same thing in the same amount of time, if your whole value proposition is we take longer, when I look at that, I just assume that you're shit at your job. Because why do you need that much time? There's legitimate cases, obviously, where you might need more time. But if your only sales proposition is you take longer than other people to do the same thing, then I just assume you're not very good.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've gone on 3 different tangents in 5 seconds. I'm not going to let you start again. This has gone terribly. So, if I did let's say you did a 20-minute appointment or a 30-minute appointment, low volume model, you're going to cap yourself out at 80 visits a week. To survive, what does the pricing model need to look like there in Australia?
In Australia, I would say you probably want to be 90 to 100.
Cool. If you did high volume, 3 across 15-minute blocks, then what are the sort of radius there?
I would say that from what I see, I would be charging anywhere from 75 to 85.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the foundational point. It's like, I definitely agree with what you just said. Just because you can do the same job and you need 15 and one needs 5, I definitely get that. But when you're sitting down and you're figuring out how you want to practice and what your product looks like, you can't necessarily, like, I think there is the difference there. And there's a fundamental difference that also then isn't, you're probably doing something else. I'm assuming like your service probably looks like something else.
I think what you're probably talking about is more of a break-even level, right? So compared to break-even, you can charge less in a high volume model, assuming you can actually get the volume, of course, because that you're going to have more volume coming through, right? If you have 100 people at $80, but you only want to, and that's $8,000, and you only want to see 50 people, but still make $8,000, well, then you need to charge double the amount, right? So like, yeah, from a break even or a revenue that you want to earn point of view, you have to charge more in a lower volume model. This is, I think, what you're illustrating. I think I guess I come to the other side from a mindset point of view, though, for someone who is in a and again, I'm going to air quote high volume here because high volume is so subjective for people, but there's no reason why you can't charge a high fee in a high volume model. And I think a lot of people assume that it's like, well, I'm high volume, so I charge less. I think it can be both, but I do exactly what you mean. Like from a basic break-even point of view, that's where the models differ, that you need to naturally start at a higher echelon because you can't equate things by just simply increasing the volume.
Yeah, because again, it's if you've applied a high volume pricing model to a low volume business model, you're stuffed. You've done it like you've lost from the start. Yeah, I think that's where we were starting. Then when you hit your capacities, so that if that's at low volume or high volume, that's when it's like you're valuable. Make them more expensive. Like that makes total sense for me. Yeah. But again, it's like when you start, what does your price say about you? Even just on a face value, we walk in. If it's a higher volume, what would you say, sort of between that 70 and 80 in Australia, probably?
Yeah, so 70 to 80 is probably I think it should be coming up now, sort of 75 to 85.
Yeah, and then if you were on the other end, you were saying upwards of 90.
I would say probably 90 to 100. If I was doing a 20-minute appointment, I do 2 to 3 every 15, depending on what's going on, varies highly. Yep. I'm in a position where I can vary it quite highly. I also do a bunch of extendeds because I will do needling and stuff like that. Oh no, it's chiropractor doing needling and stuff. Physio bro out here, but still adjust better than anyone calling me that. I will fight you in the streets. Anyway, coming back to the point. Nathan's tangenting again. Fight me. The point is, I do a 15-minute extended. I just love baiting Angus on this. And I charge, I think, 90 for that currently.
Yeah, so, yeah. Sure. So then, interesting point to make there. You're saying starting a high volume, you would expect around the floor was almost 70 then. The majority of people I talk to are charging 65. What's going on there? Why? What's happening?
Either if it's an established business that's been there for too long, they just aren't putting prices up. They just have not followed pricing. They're too afraid, all those kind of things, right? Or number two, if it's someone that's newly opened, again, I would say they're too afraid and they're just doing either what they were doing at their previous associateship, or they just have got that imposter on the shoulder. That's just, I haven't earned the right to charge more. And I think waiting for the right to charge it's never going to come, right?
No, you've absolutely nailed that. You've just taken the price from your old job and put it in your new one. And then it's either like, I just never knew that I had to increase them, or for some reason you're too afraid to increase your prices, which exactly was what happened at that other clinic. He never increased the price, so it had to go up because he was scared of this. But if he had had some kind of increasing frequency over time, it makes sense, because that, like, yogurt's gone up $1 over the last few years because it had to. Otherwise, we'd not have any yogurt.
There's a weird analogy you're running in there, but I'm here for it.
Yeah,
Yogurt was not the commodity that I figured would come up.
It was like, damn, I used to love it. And then I was like, damn, that's 20%. It was a lot.
My big yogurt's coming for you.
And that was like the Coles Greek, the cheap one. I can't even imagine the other ones. Far out.
Right. Well, we'll talk about raising prices shortly, because I think there's a lot of analogies to this that really come into it. But I think the real key here is, like you said, the drag across. When I opened my practice, and obviously I was in a regional centre before, and I often have found that regional centres tend to be lower priced as well. Not that they necessarily need to be, but it tends to be a thing. But I think it's also because your price is often a reflection of the overhead, and a lot of the time in the regional centres, the overhead was lower. So again, from a break-even point, you could afford to be higher up. But like, I intentionally was like, all right, our old price per adjustment, I think when I left Geelong, was about 65. And when I opened, I went straight to 70. I was like, no, this is my next progression. I'm going more. And now I think our new patient visit was 90, and I went to 120. Now, a good friend across town, their new patient's been 150 for the last 9 years. So mine's 140. I'm about to do a price rise. This is partly what's going to do it. The easiest thing to raise a price on, and I know I'm jumping ahead, is always the new patient, because no one knows. It's not a regular thing. Anyway, we'll come back to that.
Yeah. So just touch on the topic of rural versus urban.
So obviously, I think, like I said, the general thing has always been that urban metro areas had a higher overhead. And so based on the higher overhead, like everyone knows, you're going to have to pay a bit more. I mean, one of the allures always of country living was lower costs of living. And so with a lower cost for living, you could make just the same amount of money, if not more, at a lower cost, right? So this is one of those unique where it's not a race to a bottom, it's more just an adaptation for the area you're in.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it is taken too extreme. I think I've seen cases where I think we were 65 and there was a chiropractor around the corner doing like 58. Right? And I was like, I haven't charged that. We almost charged more than that when I was in South America. So good luck.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to put it. It's the overheads lower. So naturally the fees lower. And I find this just curiously in New Zealand, the prices are a lot lower, like, and that's NZD, which is 10% at the moment lower than AUD. And it's, I don't know, like when I talk to those chiros over there, it's, that if you went above that, that's just like crazy. So I don't know.
That's an opportunity, right?
Yeah, like that's how I felt, but they're all just like, no, you can't. And I don't know if it was like peer pressure, like if other chiros would look at you and be like, what are you doing? Or if it was the community, I don't know. But yeah, it's just something curious I've noticed.
Apparently chiropractic in New Zealand's the Freemasons. Everyone knows the handshake and you're not allowed to go above $60.
Yeah, yeah. Which again, as you say, I agree. It's like, that's pretty big opportunity, be the one in front, but it's like you got to have a reason to be the one in front. So yeah, interesting, I thought anyway. So yeah, definitely there's a difference between country and then city. And then there's also a difference between if you're starting long and low volume and high volume. Obviously, this is all when you start. When you're established though, the rules can change, right? And it's simply just supply and demand. So if you are at your maximum supply and the demand was still increasing, what is stopping you from increasing your price? I don't think anything.
At all. And in fact, even if you aren't at demand, you should have yearly price increases pretty much. If you want a sustainable business, you need yearly price increases or give or take, right? But if you're if you're maximizing your demand, 100%. I have a very good friend, I probably mentioned before, has a gym. And unfortunately, over the years, he's grandfathered a lot of people on different tiers in his gym. And so he's about to do a maximal, like everyone's basically coming to the same tier, right? And so for some people, it's like $2, for others, it's $10. It's a more significant one. But the truth of the matter is, like, his gym's actually at capacity. They've stopped letting people join. This is a 24/7 style gym with classes that has stopped letting people join. That's how popular it is. If he ups the prices and 10% of people leave, they'll just replace them and they'll pay the full price. So you'll make more money. This is like one of the things that people get lost in. If you put again, it's not all about money, but again, it's still a business. If you're seeing 100 a week at $70 and $7,000 a week, and you suddenly go up to 7,300, you can afford to lose a certain percentage and still be earning the same with capacity to grow through. Right?
Exactly.
You now need less people to earn the same money.
Yeah. Right? And I think that's where, when that advice comes of like, your prices aren't high enough, you increase prices, it's like that's the point. It's when you're there, awesome. Yes, there's a floor, which we will talk about, of yearly increases, but it's like when you get to that point, that's again, high volume model, less time, you still can charge more because you're the guy or the girl, you're the one doing the thing. And there's I really think it's like you've earned it and people will pay more. And if the people you're with, maybe 10% of them are like, no, I don't think so. As you say, there's another 20% out there that probably will.
And again, if there is a huge percentage of people that won't do it, you don't know your product, you haven't marketed right because you don't have people that can afford to pay you and you get great results for. Yeah. So if you could lose 20, 30, 40% of your business because they can't afford a marginal price increase, there's something wrong with what's going on with your product, right?
Yeah, yeah.
A really fun thing.
I would say when you do make changes like this, it's like, it is about 20% of people, right? You do notice there's always if it's not a 20% dip, it's like a hold, it's not a growth. That's just what I find when you change something like that, you're going to notice
what you'll tend to find, the people that are already working themselves out, this is the excuse they'll use. Yep. So you'll have that, usually it's less than 5. It depends what you tolerate in your practice, obviously. I don't tolerate a lot of jerks. If you're ever rude to my staff, you're basically exited from my practice. Unless if someone's in extreme pain and they're a bit short, they usually most of the time come out and apologize and we move on. But if you are a pain to my staff, I will just exit you from my practice. I'll refer you elsewhere. So we don't have a lot of issues, but you might have 1 or 2% that have a bit of a kickback. Depends on the extremity. And in my case, it was I'd left it for too long. But in most cases, it's just going to be like smile, nod, and keep rolling. You might have a small exit of just people that were already about to exit, and this was the excuse they needed. But then if you are already doing well and it's moving through, you don't have to stress because new people are just filling that pipeline.
Yeah.
Anyone who comes back and reactivates, know they're coming into that price.
Yeah.
So be it. It's a real non-issue.
It is. So you mentioned grandfathering then. Can you just explain what grandfathering is?
So grandfathering is when you only increase the price for new people. So your patients are already seeing you. They were paying 70 and you put the price up, but only the new people that come in now pay 75. So there's this.
So you're grandfathering them on the same price.
Yeah.
But the deal's over.
It can be good. It can have its place, but you get these inherent challenges, right? Of one, how easy is it to track for your front desk staff or for you, depending if you're self-admin. It's like, this person, why do I get charged this today? I normally get charged this. It's like, crap, I forgot to do this, that. And then someone's like, how come they get charged different to me? Don't we get the same thing? So it can create a bit of ill will naturally in there. This is the same reason I don't actually have a standard concession rate. I have if I have someone on a concession card ask me, I'll happily apply something for them. More out of I want to look after someone, but I don't have an advertised concession rate because they're getting the same level of care. I've never believed in a child rate because pediatric chiro, you need to do more training and often takes more time. So if anything, you should charge more. So again, I have a unified rate. Some people do a family rate. I can see that if it's easy for your system to do, but my price is just my price and goes through. So grandfathering can be a problem. Where I don't mind grandfathering will be as if your clinic does packages or memberships. Someone pays a monthly fee for certain adjustments on maintenance, or they can buy blocks of care. This is where you might go, hey, I'm going to put up price. If you want to lock in, you can buy a block at this price or you can get on a membership. We'll be aware if you ever cancel that membership in future, you will start on the new membership price. So it's a offer within practice because it has an end. They know that if they stop, it's over, right? Yeah. It's easy. You don't have to actually manage it because the system's managing it for you. And when I made the major price rise, that's one of the things we did was hey, if you want to lock in where you're at, just do this. So it can be done, but if you're going to do it and you're only applying the regular price, you have no automated system that can manage it, and you have to remember which one's on which, or you have to put in different codes and that person books the wrong one, and it's just a bad idea. And again, it's usually because you are not confident in what you're doing that you're trying to do it and you're afraid everyone's going to leave you because you're never worth it and it's all your mum or your dad or some guy's fault. We can work on that, right? That is, you need to work on that. You need to sit down with someone.
Yeah. So, okay. No, you keep going. You got more.
I have a thing that I think this is the place for it, and it's a learning lesson for me. So when I was in a certain practice, my principal was maxed out, right? Everyone wanted to see him, is well known, probably gives away who it was. And we had 5 other of us that were growing. We're growing steadily and getting busier. And they brought in a new business manager, and he came up with the idea that there would be it's quite common in physio, you don't see it a lot in chiro, there's a price to see the principal and a price to see an associate. I balked at it as the associate. Why? Definitely ego. I can look back and I can own that. And I was like, I delivered just as good a care. Why should I be less? It's telling people that we aren't as good. And I had a full balk at it and they didn't do it. If me now was in that situation, I'd be like, yes, do it and make it very clear. Because my principal was running 40, 45 minutes behind all the time. People couldn't get in. Oh, you mean I can see the same standard of care, but I can get it at a reduced rate? They would have naturally filled me up even faster. So it was actually an opportunity, and then get myself to capacity and get myself graduated into the increased rate. But instead I took it as an affront and actually cost myself. Really good lesson. But if you are the principal and you are absolute capacitied out, it is an opportunity to put in as long as it's simple enough for your system to handle as the way. And you can actually use it as a marketing strategy for your associates.
No, that's interesting because that is interesting. That's probably the first time I've definitely thought of it, but I've never put it in practice. But again, what that is, and I'm glad I know you're going to own it, but it's you weren't the guy, Yeah. So that's, again, it's when you start, you can't charge $200 a visit because you're not the guy yet. When you are, be the guy. Cool. But again, it's then can the practice handle that difference? And then how do you do it? And that's what I wanted to go into now. So with the grandfathering and doing all that stuff, I think my hard rule is just only have one grandfathered price to start with. So use that gym as the example, get everyone on the same baseline, so don't have a 2022 price and a 2023 price and a 2020. Way too hard. You've got grandfathered, and then everyone who started after that grandfather period started. When you do grandfather someone, let them know that they're on a grandfathered special rate. 100%. Make them feel special.
Yes.
Be like,
yes.
yeah, tell them. Because if they don't know, they don't know. And you're going to get the shits when they say something. And you're like, I'm doing you a favor. And they don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
make a moment out of it.
Also, because they often refer and they tell people what they pay.
Yeah.
And then people wonder why they pay a difference, right? I think literally call it something in the system, like sponsored athlete rate, all these sort of stuff, like whatever it is. Don't do what a good friend of mine did when he put us on discount rates in his gym. And it was originally for his friends and family, and he called it liabilities and hangers on. And it used to come up on your receipt each week. Luckily, we were actually good friends. But remember, sometimes stuff you put on receipts does sometimes actually come through to the person.
Yeah, so call them something. So nice things to call people are like foundational rates, original members,
sponsor,
that sort of, that sort of stuff.
Give it an identity.
One name for all of them. Yeah, so it's just like, you guys are on a foundational rate. You've been a great patient for 5 years. We want to keep you at this rate. Just by the way, everyone else is paying this much. You're paying this much. And next, we'll get to this, but it's like, and next year, the price increase still happens, but you'll still be on a foundational rate compared to everyone else, pending you stick to your program.
Yeah, and that's really crucial point. This is doing it's the same when I do sponsored athletes, the same when I do things like this. If you are on program, if you go off program, if you return, you'll be on the new rates.
Yeah, you broke the contract.
Yeah, and you're welcome to do it, but I can't hold that for you.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah, I used to be a member of Foxtel 20 years ago when it was a real thing. I can't recall them now and be like, I used to be a member, I want the same price as I did back then.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, so that's it. It's like, I think when you do a foundational rate, let people know, tell them what the difference is, but then also it's got to be contractual. So it's like you both get a benefit out of this. So you're basically putting up, like, giving them the discounted rate because they're a great patient on the parameter that you're a really easy patient to deal with as well. You're on a program, job done.
Yeah.
If they're coming in and going out, nightmare.
Yeah. I know a lot of practices even have like maintenance rates. It's like you go through an acute phase of care, which obviously requires more time and energy and skill from the practitioner. And then if people graduate to maintenance and it's more simple, easy, there's a maintenance rate for people that are on plan. And they even have, like, for people that are online booking or just dropping in randomly, they pay an increased rate. They pay like an acute fair one. I think that's fine. I think it can be hard to manage in a system through there. Depends on what you want to do. Like, my priority, if I was someone and you're there right now thinking about putting up your prices, 90% of the time, you should just no foundation rate. Just put your price up.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you have some people that you would really like to support, maybe there's 5% of your thing you might offer this to. It doesn't have to be a universal thing. You don't have to put the price up and be like, everyone that was already in needs to have this stayed price. If you want to use grandfathering, it doesn't have to be universal, but your priority should be not using it rather than using it.
And then when you do increase your price, then how long of a time frame do you give?
3 to 4 weeks max, like a month. I'll put it in my month's newsletter coming up. I'll probably drop it on a little thing on the desk a couple of weeks out. I always start it usually from a lot of the time I'll do it around the end of financial year. I used to. I've kind of shifted away from that because I find in financial year, everyone's on their budget, they're on their team, they're actually really concerned about money. So you're just adding a concern. So I'm going to price raise it.
To do it.
Yeah.
I always do it
January, or just at random. It reminds me of gifting. You want to gift in nonsensical times, like not at Christmas, not on their birthday. Like, you have it planned, but they think it's random. So I'm going to put my price up at the start of October. So I'm going to do my September newsletter, and then on the 1st of October, it's going to go. Or sometimes it'll be the Monday of the first week of that month, just to make it easier so you can put everything up in the back end over the weekend. But I think this is the most important thing. When you used to put up prices, I'm talking 5-10 years ago, you used to have to go through a whole show and tell of, hey, the average price of chiropractic around the area is currently $75 to $90. We're currently charging $70. We're going to be moving to $75, $73, whatever it is. We believe we give above average quality of service at a great price. Just like that. You had to go through this whole process. I don't know if anyone else has noticed over the last few years, that process is unneeded. Like, I have a KO subscription. Shock, horror, because I like sport. Less than a year ago, I believe it was $20 or maybe even $15 a month. 2 months later, it went to 25. Literally 2 months later, it went to 45. I have a Xero subscription. Same thing. It's just literally like, hey, this is going up on this date. You just tell, we're in a different era now. You just have to go, this is happening on this time.
Yeah. People are used to it.
And don't invite questions. If people have questions, they can ask them. They can talk to you always. But the worst thing you do is, hey, a price is going up. I hope that's okay. Let us know if you have any problems. You're telling them they have the right to object. No, it's just happening. I'm just letting you know it's happening. The sun's coming up tomorrow and our prices are going up.
Yeah.
End of story.
Nice.
Otherwise, you are inviting the problems.
Yeah, keep the conversation short. So the only ad that I would add to that is, we used to do like a quarter. So we'd have this freaking sign up on the front for like months. And then it's like coming. I would say whatever your longest scheduled visit is, if it's a month, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So at least everyone can come and see it once. That's it. That's what I would set it to. Because if you let it drag out, again, invites more conversation, more questions. If someone comes 3-4 times in that time period, it invites more. It's like, oh, you done that price rise yet? It's just like, do it. It's this date, it's this much, do it. Everyone gets to see it once, minimum. Cool, move on. So if we then go into so this is stripping it right back just to a yearly frequency. How do you figure it out? And where's it going from?
In terms of how much am I increasing it by?
Yeah, because I don't know.
No. Oh, listen, this is, anyone who's been following along for a while heard my story about the Leonard's wheel last week. I think most people are just spinning the wheel again, and we're going up by $1.47. And then you have the others that are going the other thing, where they're like, the inflation has gone up by this, and the standard rate is this, so we're going up by $6.53. It's too freaking hard. I literally do it with the future in sight. So usually I'm going to be like, all right, my current price is 80. I'm going to go to 83, because after that I'm going to go to 85. And then I'm probably going to go to 87, and then I'm going to go to 90. So I know every year or 2 years, I'm going to go up by about $5. And so 83 looks better than 82. 83 to 85 is a non-jump. 87 is better than 88, and then 90. Now again, others might go the other way around. Some might go $5 jumps. Depends what's going on and where you're coming from. I think I'm getting like an $80 regular adjustment. I think the little short one is fine. If I was at 60, I'm going to 65, 100%, right? Or I'm doing 2 in a year where I'm going 63, 62, 63, 65, right? Depending on how I want to influence it. But I look at it more in a cycle of over the next couple of years, I want to take this up by $5. So I'm going to, at one stage it's going to be this and the other is going to be that. So I'm going to go the 3 now and the 2 later.
Yeah. Cool. Honestly, from what I see people do, it seems to just be increments of $3. I don't know why. That's just what people do.
I do think once you get to a higher fee, like we talked about before, if you're in a low volume model and you are charging more because obviously you need more for the break even, if you had $100 regular, I think going to 103 makes no sense. You're going to 105, you might even go to 108. You could go to probably 110 because it's less than 10%. So I think percentage is there. I think the higher your fee, the higher you can jump without it seeming like a big jump. If you're paying $1,000 for something, going to 1,050 is negligible.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And I think, you've nailed that. So below $100, it's a higher percentage based on what the number, the ratio. So that's why 3s are fine. But then you go above 100, the percentage goes way out. You go up by 3, that's a 3% increase. So going to 108, it's an 8% increase, which is probably, I don't know what the maths is, but an 80 to an 83 might be a 7% as well. I don't know. Yeah. It's probably not. Yeah. But anyway.
It's about 5, just under. So I think 325 is the numbers, right? In that sort of section is where I tend to go. Again, do you, but those if someone balks over $3 or $2, they're already hell even anyway. And I do it across services, right? So when I go up, I will put it across everything. Prepayments, care plans, memberships, extendeds, review, anything I do. Now, the only ones I might not do is we have a review you, which is a reactivation. We currently charge $100 for it. That'll probably stay there. I don't really need to charge more on that. We have our new patients are currently $140. I'm going to put that to $150, just in line with other things. I have no problem with that. Also, someone that was going to pay $140 is not going to balk at $150. Yeah, there's a really important concept. So here we go, story time. In 2012, I was part of the committee that ran Murdoch's Hands on India project. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Hands on India.
I know of it. I don't know
Yeah.
about it.
For a start, India's not a person and it's not creepy. Hands on India is where we used to send a bunch of chiropractic students out to a village called Siliguri in the northwest of Bengal in India to work in the communities. You would go, so we'd send like 20 of the students. So it was fourth years about to step into their fifth year. So you would go right at the transition into your clinical year in December. And then about 10 clinicians from Australia-wide. It's since been now, it's a graduate-only program because the unis had a whole thing with it. But it was incredible. You spend 2 weeks out in these villages working with people that are like below the caste system. We went to like Mother Teresa's original orphanage. We did all these things. Absolutely incredible experience. One of the things you have to do though, because you have to fundraise. And what people often don't realize is the fundraising money goes 100% to the orphanage, to things over there. It doesn't go to anyone's like accommodation. It doesn't go to anyone's flights. And you needed to raise at least 60K. Right? So you're all students, you're all going through your big entrance exams and you're fundraising. Now we raised almost 100K our year, largely thanks to one of the guys had his brother-in-law donated a Jeep Cherokee, I think it was, at cost price. So cost price on the car was like 20K. And so we sold raffle tickets, 1,000 raffle tickets, $50 a raffle ticket. It was going to make us about 25, 30K. Right? Now, the problem being, is you were giving this to students who are have bad relationships with money, and they're poor, and they're like, I could never buy a $50 ticket, which is incorrect. We bought a bunch of them. How am I going to do this? I can't sell these, This is, I think, what most new grads trying to, I'm going to air quote, but sell chiropractic. And I remember this argument comes like, what if we move the ticket from 50 to 40? And my simple point back then, and I stand with this same concept right now, if someone was going to spend 40, they will spend 50. And that was the truth. Like, we sold it out. I think we missed like a couple of tickets. I think I accounted for 60 tickets for a crew. One of the chiros though just was like, yeah, I'll just buy $500 worth. I know this is an offset. Do you know what the odds of winning most raffles are? 1 in like hundreds of thousands, millions. This was a 1 in 1,000 chance of getting a car. It's an outrageous value proposition.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but it drives the point home. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the point. Like people are like, oh, I was like, why would we take out 10% of the possible revenue? Like we're literally going to cost ourselves like over $3,000 in potential revenue for people that would pay the money anyway. So just harden up and go do the job.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go straight into the next thing I want to talk about, which is specials and giving away profits, because this shits me to tears. People are like, I want to get my average visit up to $75. Cool. Then what they do is they set their price at $75, the top echelon, the top one, and then they do membership or preplays and plans. If you buy 12 or do whatever the schedule thing, it'll cost you 15%, and it's usually like 68 or something. So you've just gone from the goal that you were trying to get and discounted down. And that never makes sense to me, because you're always stuck at discounted, a discounted average over everyone. As you said before, people don't know. So if you want to get an average $75 visit, that's the discounted visit. Then your individual payments are more expensive after that. I don't know why people do it. I've done it in the past. Yeah. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it.
What,
Dave, your opinion?
I can tell you exactly why. Because I literally was talking to a former mentee and a good friend of mine today who's doing this. He's like, my current rate is like 75. I want to do these things. He's like, the problem is, by the time if I do this pack, it's going to be a $65 visit. I was like, yeah, no, you can't do that. You need to, and I said to him, you need to do this with a price rise. Attach a change in model, which is what packages and memberships are, with a price rise to push people to it. So let's say your example, you want your average price to be 75. That should be often what we call a middle number. So if your normal price should be 50, if they say buy a 10 pack, it should be 75. And then if they buy a 20 pack, it can be 70, right? Because it'll be volumed out by the people on the top end. Like as long as the bottom number and top number equate, because the majority of people will buy the middle, right? This is the contrasting idea. My sister runs a florist. Again, I'm just out of control with stories today. But she has a cheap bunch of flowers, which are $20. And then she had a good bunch, which is like $35. And she just kept selling the cheap ones, not the middle ones. She's like, I don't know what to do. I was like, you need another barrel that is a $60 bunch. Put 2 of them in there. But by contrast now, the 35 is the value. and you'll just fly them out. And anyone who buys the $60 one, bonus. She's done that. She sells out every week. No questions asked. People are just like, I want the 35. Contrasting works really, really well. So you have hey, if you want to come in and pay per visit, it's $80. If you want to look at buying a 10-pack, or if you do a membership type thing and you bill on this frequency, it'll be 75. And if you want to do this, it's 70. What works best for you? Right?
Yeah.
Pure offer.
And I'd even, that's it. It's the same thing. I'd even push a little, because I'm not big on 3 prices. I'd just be like 2. It's like you get the discount, you don't get the discount. The concept of middling, 100%. That's a perfect example. But then it's okay, if you're going to do a discount, set that as the floor, which is what you're trying to average. You'll probably get there, because realistically, you're going to have grandfathered people who are below that as well. So that's probably where the middling comes from.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think the only one caveat on it is if you do a 10 and 20 pack, or like a 12 and 24, there has to be a reason to buy the bigger pack, right? It's like, I worked at a pub where the price per pint and the jug price was the same as 2. If people aren't aware, 2 pints go into a jug of beer. For any international livers, a jug of beer is 2 large beers. If you want someone to buy a jug, it can't just be the price of 2 pints.
Yeah.
So it has to be a slight drop. But again, it can't be like, I think chiropractors get this caught. They just like, oh, so if it was, like you said, if it's 75, I'm going to make it 70 and 65. That's too big a jump. You have to like either, like you said, set your base price at like, if you buy it here, you get the 70, you want an average. If you buy a 24 pack, it's 75. If you buy a 12 pack, it's 77.50, and it's normally 80. But otherwise, it should just be, if I'm in a normal consult, it's like, this is the price, this is the other price.
Yeah. And this is probably one of the rare times where I'm like, even if someone bought 20 or 10, I don't care. I'm only doing, the only reason you'd give them a bigger discount is if it's saved labor and cost. So then you're like, sweet, I'll give you a bigger discount. But then I'm at the point where it's like, if it's all scheduled anyway, I'm not going to discount anymore. You can pay for as much as you want, but I'm not going to.
Mine saves staff time, because it's already like paid for, everything's on file, so there's a bang. So I can afford to, like, it gives me more leniency. And also, those people are usually scheduled right out, because that's usually comes with it. You must be scheduled forward. So it's like, all right, you're going to pre-fill my book, you're going to make my front desk faster. That's lesser. My break even comes down on that. So I can give more on that. The other great way to do this, and this is what I'm saying to the other person, because one of the risks here is devaluing the average cost of adjustment. Because I've got people in my practice right now that we put prices up, they were great patients, they're going through some hard times, they're not on a plan, but I'm honoring the plan price because I can do that. But now they have to write on their file, it's actually more time for my staff to manage this. So and then they get used to a lower price. And so same by like, I don't like talking so much in terms of per visit price. So your other way to do this, but maintaining your average, is like, if you buy 10, you get your 11th free kind of thing, right? If the percentages work, but then every appointment they get when they get the receipt still says your 75 number, right? So you figure out what the maths are where it's only like a 5% discount now, but they're like, people like the idea of it's the old loyalty card, they get the extra one, but when they're getting, because they can't claim on that last one because it's no cost, but for all the rest, they get that full price and then normal full price. So it's like the reverse high caps thing, where I don't like high caps because I think it's a devaluation of your service price, because people get used to paying a lesser price, and then when it runs out, it feels more obtrusive. Whereas if they've had to pay the normal price and then go claim themselves, it doesn't feel as much. But it's the same concept that you're like, this is the core price, and then you can it's just wording, right? It's just marketing.
Yeah. And some good points brought up there. So one being, because I know this is a question people are going to ask, if someone does a 20 pack and they pay for it all, and then they get halfway through, you just give them their money back. I feel like we don't have to say that, but I kind of
like if they come through, I get halfway through and they're like, oh, listen, I'm moving interstate. Yeah, no worries. Whatever's left over, I'm sending back. You don't do you should have been paying this, I'm going to take that off. No, because also they've probably been a great patient. Oh yeah, sweet, no worries. You've got $600 in credit here. I'll just send that to your account now.
Yeah.
It's
that just worth noting. Worth noting. Good, because that whole conversation comes from single visit margin.
Yeah.
So if you don't know your average visit cost, go get your P&L for the last 12 months, divide your revenue by the amount of adjustments that occurred in that period. That will tell you what your average visit is, without going into the actual margin side of things. It's just like, what's your average there? And so that's where you can get that from. Why discounting off what the target is that you're trying to get to pisses me off so much is because the majority of practices are lucky to, The majority of practices on a higher volume model are lucky to have 10%. And I know that from seeing P&Ls, and I know that from working in businesses, and it's tough to get on a high volume model. There's high overheads, 10%. So then if you're going around giving away the 10% discount, you're literally giving away your profit margin. And that's why you feel like at the end of every month, there's no money. Yes.
One real important caveat to that: high volume margin when you haven't like traditional associate modeled. If you're an operator, you should be having about the 80% margin in there, give or take.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So it starts off. So then if you run your P&L and you divide your revenue by the adjustments done, that's going to give you your cost. Let's say it's $65.
Yeah.
Then you run your P&L and you, the maths on this again.
Take expenses.
Take expenses off. Wait, hang on. Revenue, expenses, and then the percentage gap
expenses. So it's like revenue divided by visits over expenses divided by visits, and then you get the gap. Right?
Yeah. So you might end up with $65 for revenue, $55 per visit for expenses. So your gap's only $10. And that's what we're talking about. That's like your profit margin. And if you're giving away the discount there, we're in trouble.
So a couple of ways cutting into.
Literally, you're giving away profit. So two things, as you said, good point. Can we bring our expenses down? That's a whole nother conversation. But if we can get that down, awesome. Then the discounting still works. The other one, though, to help you straight away is stop giving away the freaking discount at the start. So if you don't want a $65 average, set it at $75 and discount up. So your average, like your per visit cost is 80, but the discounted is 75.
Exactly.
Yeah. Makes sense?
Yeah. And I think there's a question here within discounting that I think you're the prime person to talk to about. The 29, 49, 59, whatever you want to call it, new patient special. Yeah. Where does it work? Where does it sit? What does it say?
Yeah. So I think this is something people genuinely don't understand. There is a front end offer and then there is your offer. They're different things. Okay. So your front end offer is your $29 special. I don't really give a shit what you charge. I think 29 is too low. I think 49 is too low. I think you should be charging somewhere around 90 AUD on average. But it's a front end offer. It's just to get someone in the door. That's it. When people come to us and they're like, oh, I'm going to take my $29 offer to 39, it doesn't matter. You've already set the bar at 29. That's your problem. So the back end offer is the one that's more important. So instead of trying to get $10 more out of your front end offer, what if your back end offer, you increase the average visit to $75 there? The people don't know that bit. So by the time they're there, that's the back end offer. That's what you actually sell. If you do a good enough job, they're in the door for $29. They start your other program that you've now increased the cost on. Beautiful. You're going to make a lot more on the back. The front end, as we say, I think people are racing to the bottom to get lead generations turning into new patient exams to be able to do that conversation. But there's a point which I think we've passed, which is you go too low, you get the wrong demographic that can't even afford that anyway. So I think a correction, which is already happening, you've mentioned it in the past too. I think the front end offer, if you've been running a $29 cheap, don't change it. An extra $10 isn't going to do anything for you, like in terms of business. So I think you've sort of made your bed. The only way to change that is to stop advertising for a while and then relaunch, like with a new product, and make it closer to 80 or 90. But if you want to increase your average visit cost, adding $10 to the new patient exam is not going to do it. $5 to the average visit cost is. It's going to make a significant difference. So if you've made your bed, sleep in it, do it in the back end. If you're thinking about starting advertising, set it at a rate that's actually respectable, because we've gone too far down.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Perfect. Absolutely. All right. Now, I got asked that exact question on the Transition to Practice webinar from the ACA the other week. And it was more as I think my good friend, Dr. Dan Christoph, was trying to like lay me up on one to shit on it. But he said, what do you think about people doing it? I was like, I actually just don't care. Especially for a new grad or someone who just needs a volume of people to come in. If you want to run a high lead, if you can actually get those leads to come in and just go, here, you're going to need some practice on doing a consult, delivering great service and conversion. Here's just a volume of people to come through. Do your best. I'm not expecting huge things from this, but do your best. Always do the best by the person in front of you. Give them the options. And you can I've seen, I've had people both with me and I've had people I've coached who are doing more big care plans. I've seen them get a $29 lead and convert that into two people paying $3,500 each, right? Not irregularly, right? Because sometimes people were already looking and the offer was just enough to be like, I should really get into that. Now, if I was like you said,
that's what an offer is. That's what a front end offer is. It's just that little step.
100%.
You know,
And again,
imagine if you tried to run. Sorry, imagine if you tried to run
no,
it as
go.
a 3-month, $3,000 program as a Facebook ad. It's not going to
Yeah.
work, brother. And so, and a good example is Aaron, the previous marketing company that Aaron used to work for. They spent 30 grand a month to acquire Chiro advertising clients. On average, they get about $2,500 sort of lead kind of cost. That's why agencies have this 3-month retainer thing, because they got to get the returns on that. But it's like the bigger the upfront offer, the harder it is. So it's like an upfront offer is just the first step. The second step is the back end.
Yeah, exactly. You're self-selecting people out. You're putting barriers, right? The low offer is like a no barriers to entry. It's just like for the price of your lunch, you can come in, essentially, right? And then you can tier it up to make it to self-select people out. But this assumption that you only get the worst is not always accurate. Now, again, you are going to get probably a bunch of absolute junk, but depending on, like you said, your position in practice, it may just be a chance for you to work those skills. I hate the idea that people say they're like, oh, these are junk leads. And when they come in, they don't want to do this. Well, what's your mindset going into it? Because even when I would remember doing $29 leads back in like 2015, which was like, it was the only lead, right? There was no one doing anything more. We just did it. I had some great people. And my only intention was to like I would for any new patient, deliver the best experience service. And if they choose to come on, great. If they don't, so be it. And then I didn't do advertising for ages. I was a bit anti it for a while. And then I came back round, and then I was like, everyone else is doing a $47 lead. I'm going to be 65. I'm going to be above the average, but still way less than my normal price. I remember someone commenting, was like, oh, there's another car doing this at 47. I was like, you're welcome to go there.
Yeah. It's an offer. It's just a step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and the better your branding is, the more you can charge too, just by the way.
Yeah. But I think one of the most important things, on top of branding, like you said, like how good's your content? How like are people organically knowing you? I know you waxed about this so much. If the ad's the only thing doing the lifting, you're gonna have a real hard time.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing you said before was that like if you've already made this bed, you either need to choose to lie in it, or you need to shut things down for a while, let a bit of memory fatigue happen, and then come back more premium.
Yeah,
It's
it's incredible. Like we have increased the offer prices by $10 and lead costs 4x's, because there's people that have been watching your ads for months. They just haven't pulled the trigger yet, and then you've made the offer worse. So then it just destroys it. And it's like, is that worth it? That $10 worth it, or would just increase the price on the back end?
Yeah. And I said the only way to know would be to track it. If you suddenly those leads come in, convert well, and you better outcome, sweet. If they don't, well then it was a bad decision.
Yeah, and yeah, we're probably going on here, but it's also like Facebook advertising is cold leads. It's cold. It's like standing on the street and asking people to come in. You're gonna get crap. That's how it is. You can only get good quality leads if you define what a quality lead is. So and paid advertising doesn't define a quality lead. Just shock horror. You are looking for the people who have a problem. They know they need chiropractic, and they're looking for an offer. If that's the game you're playing. So yeah, good point to bring up though.
All right, this has been quite an extensive run on prices. Anything else
I didn't think it would go for
we
that
haven't
long.
touched?
I think it's pretty fair. You know, it's like, well, when you set up, there's location, there's models that have different things. Then there's an annual sort of rise that you should be doing, how to do it, how to handle it, how to grandfather people in but keep it simple. Then what a front end offer and what a back end offer is. I think that makes sense. Ultimately, the whole game, I think, is like that example. Get to a point where you can be the premium practitioner in the building. That's a thing, but you've got to overcome supply and demand.
And I think if anything, we've learned anything today, it's a lot of it comes from self-worth and imposter syndrome. So as always, if you're struggling, reach out and we help. That's a positive, not a negative.